It's a cool night, perfect for a jog. Just the sound of my shoes against the trail and my breath. This is my way of recharging and when I do most of my self-reflection. There's a park down the street from my house that I often run to. It has a trail that serves as a good spot for this, but little did I know that this night would be different, and I wish I would have taken another route. As I come out of the underpass tunnel, I hear the sound of a struggle and a dog growling. At first, I slow my pace, trying to gather what I'm hearing, and then I hear someone's plea for help. The growling dog combined with the desperate cry pushes me to pick up my pace, to assist whoever is in trouble. And as I round the corner, I see a large dog attached to someone's arm, shaking furiously. The man is struggling to keep the dog off the ground, lifting his arm to deny it leverage, but I can tell he won't last much longer. The pain and the weight are taking its toll, and I know that the moment he lowers his arm, the dog will have the advantage again. I rush forward, seeing my opportunity, the dog's soft underside exposed. I give it a hard kick to the stomach. The dog yelps and lets go, runs off whimpering. I turn to the man and I said, "Jesus, are you okay?" He winces and responds, "Yeah, I'll be fine, thank you. You came just in time." I offer to call the police or get him medical attention, but before I can even finish, he cuts me off with a protest saying, No, I don't need any cops or anybody to be." He trails off, likely realizing how odd his outburst sounds, especially given he'd just been hurt. Then he mumbles, I don't have medical insurance, and I just like to avoid all that if I can help it." I ask, "Are you sure? How bad is it? I have some gauze and medical tape at my house if you'd at least like to clean it up." He hesitates for a moment before nodding in agreement. "Okay, well, let's get you up. I'm only a few blocks away," I say, offering my hand to help him to his feet. It doesn't take long to get to my house. I unlock the door, gesture towards the couch and say, "Have a seat, I'll grab the medical supplies from the bathroom." I head down the hall, open up the medicine cabinet, and grab what I need to clean and dress his wound. And when I turn to head back to the living room, he's suddenly standing in the doorway, startling me. "Jesus, you scared me." I say. He manages a slight grin and replies, "I thought you wanted me back here so I didn't bleed on your carpet." Though I specifically remember saying no such thing, I just shrug it off, manage a nervous laugh and say, "Okay, let me see your arm." He rolls up his sleeve as I start cleaning and wrapping the wound. I can feel his gaze, heavy, almost boring into me. It makes me uncomfortable, but I keep going, and when I finish, he awkwardly thanks me, still lingering in the doorway. At this point, I just want him to get outside. Realizing I had let a stranger in my house, I quickly say, "Yeah, no problem, anytime." And as I do, I see a flicker of something in his expression, almost glee. He says, "Really? Thank you." It's gotten more than a little uncomfortable now, so I motion for him to head towards the door, stating that I have to finish my run still, and I herd us outside and lock the door behind me and tell him to be safe and avoid any other dogs as I hand him an extra gauze pad and a few more towelettes for his bandage. He thanks me again and I reply, "You're welcome. I'm going to finish my run. See you later." As I jog down the sidewalk, I feel his gaze on me, and I'm relieved to be out of that situation. The following day, I had just gotten home from work when there was a knock at the door, and I peered through the peephole and saw him standing on my stoop. My stomach sank immediately. It made me uncomfortable. I decided not to answer, hoping he'd just leave. He knocked a few more times before walking off, but his presence lingered in my thoughts. That night, I skipped my usual run to avoid encountering him, fearing he might be waiting for me somewhere to ask to come in again or try to approach me in some way. The next day, it happened again. This time, as I ignored the knock, he spoke through the door. "You know it shows when you look through the peephole. It blocks the light from inside," he said. "Why are you pretending to not be home? I thought you said any time." His tone grew agitated as I heard him mumble to himself and stomped off. By now, I knew I had gotten myself into a situation I didn't like. Yet, I had no idea how bad it was going to get. A few days passed, and I began to think maybe it was over. I even started to forget about it. Then one day, when I was checking my mail, I noticed something odd. There was a piece of mail addressed to someone I didn't recognize. I thought it must be a mistake or delivered to the wrong house, so I set it aside with intention to return it to the post office, but I forgot about it. A couple of days later, I noticed a flashlight on my doorstep. It had its initials etched into it. Since I was on my way to work, I didn't dwell on it and just brought it inside, placing it on the table. Later that day, I came home to find a nearly brand new pair of shoes sitting on my stoop. This was peculiar, but I figured whoever left them would come back for them. When they didn't, I set them inside as well. And over the next few weeks, random items would just show up, hat, mug, little things like that. I wasn't putting the pieces together yet. I simply would bring them inside, not thinking too much about it. Then came the evening when he returned and knocked on my door again. The sound of it made my stomach drop. I cautiously approached the people and saw him standing there. He called out, "Hello, what's going on? Let me in." Without thinking, I responded from the other side of the door. "What do you mean, let you in? Why would I do that?" He replied, "Well, for one, you said any time. And second, I live here. You have to let me in." At first, I was upset by the absurdity of his claim. "Yeah, right. How do you figure that?" I snapped. Then catching myself, and I added, "Never mind. Don't answer that. I need you to leave or I'm calling the police." Unfazed, he said, "Go ahead, because I'm not going anywhere. You need to let me in." Well, I wasted no time. I called the police, and they arrived surprisingly quick. I explained the situation to the officer, but before I could finish, the man interrupted, saying, "This is crazy. I live here. My mail and my things are inside. Shoes, clothes, and I don't understand." The officer gave me an odd look, almost like as if he didn't believe what I was saying. He turned to me and asked, "Is that true? Are his things inside?" I stammered, "Yes, but I didn't put them there. He's been leaving them here. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who's they." The officer then asked the man to show proof of his belongings inside. The man confidently agreed, and I began to panic. I tried to explain how the items had just started showing up randomly in the mail also. The officer pressed, "Well, if that's the case, then why didn't you return the mail? Legally, you're supposed to return the mail if it's not yours." Realizing I had made a mistake, I felt trapped. The officer found his items. The mail, the shoes, the flashlight, and informed me that since his belongings were here, his mail came here, and he lived here, I would have to go through the legal eviction process. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The officer was leaving and I had to let this man inside? This was unbelievable. The officer left. I stood there in shock, unable to process what just happened. The man closed the door behind him, and he turned around slow and he locked eyes with me. "So," he said with a slight smirk, "which room is mine?" I didn't answer, and my mind was swimming with fear and disbelief. Without waiting for the response, he started walking down the hallway, pausing halfway to glance back at me. "I'll just pick one then," he said before disappearing into the shadows.